Hello, beautiful people. My name is Kira, aka Words by Kira, and on this episode, I have the lovely Becky on with me. We work together at a media company, and we also really have a great connection as friends as well. She is a fitness queen, an overall amazing person, beautiful inside and out, and she is extremely empathetic. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode: how to protect your energy when you're empathetic, and how to make sure that as a very connected person to people and yourself, that you're still protecting your energy. So let's get into this video. So Becky, okay, the people know a little bit about you now, but is there anything else you want to add to tell us a little more about yourself?
Oh, you just gave me such a glowing intro that I don't know if I can add to that, but no, yeah, I'm so thankful I work with you and got to meet you, and my life has been so much brighter because of it. But yeah, growing up, I definitely always felt things a little more deeper than I think some of my counterparts. And I was always considered myself sensitive. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that's a really good thing and it's not a bad thing. But I'm sure we'll jump into that more. But yeah, it definitely, I feel, has aided me throughout my life of just being more connected to myself and knowing how to kind of navigate certain feelings and emotions and going through things, and also for the people I love or strangers, so.
That's so beautiful. Absolutely. You feel it. When I first met you, I knew that you really were someone who feels things deeply, and you're just so open and warm. And I just love that about you.
Oh, that makes me feel so good. And I feel the same way about you. I feel like you can tell a lot by someone's smile and eyes. And, when they just kind of greet you with that warmness, you immediately kind of can let your guard down of knowing you're in a safe space. Not that you have to overshare or say certain things, but just knowing your energy can be protected. When someone just kind of gives off, sincerity.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So when did you first know that you were more sensitive or an empath? When did you first figure that out?
Oh, that's a good question. I I always, as a kid, I was just very aware of my surroundings and the people in it and the energy, and I was easily affected. But I definitely have to give credit to my mom in that regard of how she raised. I have an older brother and a younger sister, and just her as our role model and how she raised each of us in our own way. And I feel she's such an empathetic person that it made me just see that. I feel like empathy is also a learned thing. Obviously it can come innately, but it's also the environment that you're in. And having a mom that was so empathetic and loving and nurturing and knew her kids so well and how to treat them. She raised us all the same, but also different, so my mom was always very mindful of how to talk to me and love me, discipline me. And I just feel and then also watching her with other people. And she was always our advocate and advocate for others. And she was always willing to stand up for what was right. And so I just feel again, having that role model, I'm just so privileged and blessed, because that just made me feel that's just how you exist. It just was something that I thought was, this is how you live your life because of my mom.
That is incredible. And I see that from private conversations we had, that advocacy part of you and just wanting to be there for other people and stand up. That's so incredible that your mom is like that. Shout out Becky's mom.
She's amazing. And I get emotional thinking about her and talking about her, because she just, obviously, I think as you get older too, you just realize how much your parents can sacrifice for you. And again, coming from a place of immense privilege and blessing, that I have that kind of support and family. And again, feeling for people that don't necessarily maybe have that of what they were born into, but maybe have found other people, other relatives, other friends that have now been that connection for them. But yeah, I think it's recognizing when you're born into love and wanting other people to feel that kind of love. And I think that's sometimes again, going to the empathy and caring, I'll think about the intense love that I have in my life from my family and the support. And of course, no one's perfect. Everybody has like their flaws and fights, and like it's not like this picture perfect situation, but knowing that you always have that support really makes you feel like you can do anything. And so I just feel like when you see other people maybe don't have that, you want to give that to them and see that there is a way to achieve that.
Yes. Wow. I love the point that you made about empathy being something that's learned. Like, yes, okay, maybe some people are just naturally have a bit more, or it seems that they're just naturally kind of exude that, but it is a learned thing. And you're so right. Just the fact that you're even thinking about others and you're recognizing the fact that you're blessed to have a family that gives you that love and wanting to spread that out into the world, I think is imperative, because some people might be like, wow, I have it. That's great. And then they don't think about the next steps about giving it to others. Wow.
Yeah. And again, I think I like to think of it as like, what things make me feel good, and like, if those things make me feel good, then it has to make someone else feel good. Again, not that we're all the same and we all have different like love languages, and like, we all have different things that can make us feel seen or acknowledged. But I just think at the end of the day, like, why we're here is we want to connect and love one another, so, and again, everybody expresses love differently, and it's understanding. And that's what my mom always was so good at, is like understanding how to communicate that to like each of us, like each of my siblings. But it's like you said, it's a learned practice, because like sometimes you think you have like the best intentions and you realize like, oh, I'm giving them too much of what I want and not enough of what they need, so it's like it's always a work in progress of trying to figure that out so that you're supportive and loving in the most appropriate way.
Yes, that's where that self-awareness comes in. Okay, so I'm going to just pivot a little bit, because I love everything you're saying about giving and wanting to show that love to others. But we have to also talk about boundaries, and when do you realize like you're giving too much, and how to protect yourself from doing that? Do you have anything to share about like that topic?
Oh, that's such a great point. And again, like such a work in progress. And I think you understand completely is like, when you care so much, like you always want to be there, and you always want to be the person that they can rely on, because it is something you so genuinely care about. But like you said, like in order to fully serve other people, you also then need to take care of yourself. And so that's something where I am still working on it. Some days are better than others. But my best ways of like trying to center myself is like making sure that I'm getting time outside. I love my walks. They mean so much to me because it gives me a chance to just like really connect with nature. And like a lot of times when you're empathetic, like you really do connect to nature. Like you really, when you're outside and in the elements of it, and like it kind of centers you of just like, right, like there's a deeper purpose for everything. And then also just recognizing too that like it's okay sometimes to take a minute to respond to something. Again, very hard, because like you don't want to ever seem like you're not there for someone that you care about. And then I think even where it can be tricky, like, because now we're in like a more remote setting. So when you're in like a public setting, just trying to find those polite ways to like withdraw maybe from the conversation or redirect when you feel like it is too heavy of something that like, or you feel like you're being taken advantage of. Like, I feel like sometimes, like there's certain people in your circle that like, you might give a little bit more because of the connection they have to you. But even those people, sometimes you need to put up a little bit of like, you know what, like today's too much, like today is like, but it's challenging. It's really challenging.
Definitely. Same girl. I'm a work in progress with this. Like I've actually started seeing a new therapist a few months ago, because I was really struggling with this of feeling, I was struggling with like feeling a little guilty for feeling happy. Yes. When I see so much sadness and trauma and tribulations going on in the world and around me at times with people that I care about in my life. And I was really having a really hard time with that. And my therapist, like one activity, she has me do a lot of activities, but which I love. I'm like, yes, give me more homework.
Such a good student. It's good to always want to learn. That's also like what makes it so powerful.
Definitely learn about myself and how my behaviors that I wasn't aware of, like certain behaviors that really weren't serving me. But one thing she had me do, because I was struggling with upholding my boundaries, I was just kind of like, just bending too much, and it just was kind of becoming unhealthy. She actually had me like write down the type of like relationship I would want to have with the person or people that I was struggling to have my boundaries with, and like what it would look like for me, and like what kind of boundaries I want to set. And just writing it down on paper, like it helped me a lot. I mean, girl, sometimes I still fall, sometimes I still buckle, but it really helped me with the boundary setting.
That is such a great tip. And like, I'm big on journaling, and that helps me a lot too. Like that's something that, I'll wake up and write things I'm grateful for, write things that I want to focus on. Same thing at night, and I definitely feel like, yeah, when you care about others and what they're going through, you do feel this almost sense of guilt of like, I don't want to seem insensitive to the happiness I'm feeling. But I also feel like we also have to honor our own emotions. And like, if something's good is happening, it doesn't it's not now belittling what someone else is going through. It's just like recognizing in the moment, like, this feels really good right now, and I want to celebrate that. So, and I love what you said about writing down like what relationships mean to you, because I think it helps then again put in perspective of like, the people in your life and like the time to give to them. And that's also healthy for them, because sometimes we also think we're helping by like being there, for certain things or certain conversations. And then we realize, like, are we enabling, a certain mentality?
Yes, definitely. And that's
energy
stifling the other person.
Yeah.
Because now they're not getting the room and space to elevate or to grow or figure it out for themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And I just think it's something to like, it's about, like you said, that self-awareness. And so I love the writing down, the journaling. And I think a lot of times when we put things onto paper, it just makes it feel like almost like a release too. Like we're able to put that now into the world, into the universe. And you're just like, okay, like this, and you're now finally being honest with yourself, because like, it's almost kind of like a freeing, exercise, I think.
Definitely. Oh, I love this, girl. We're killing. Okay. So we're talking about empathy power, my empathy people out there. We want to be able to give them some advice, and we just gave them excellent advice about setting boundaries. But do you have any other tips that maybe you do, Becky? I know we talked about like centering yourself, grounding yourself, but is there anything else that you might want to share to like help them out with their feelings? Because we be feeling a lot.
Oh yeah, we feel a lot. And I think sometimes too, when you can feel a lot, you can almost then feel like you're putting too much onto other people. Like you can kind of be afraid to be like, ooh, this is hitting me heavy, but I don't now want to put that heaviness on someone else, So it is okay to like be honest and reach out about how you're feeling, and that you're not alone. And I think sometimes that can cause like a spiral. Like you can be so empathetic, but then also feel like you're isolated in how you're feeling, but recognizing that there's more people like you than not, So I think that sometimes can help of like realizing like at the end of the day, more people want to care than not care, So you're included in that, like as a person, and just like, and I think recognizing too, like, especially the people potentially you're closest with, if they're leaning on you for that support, they're going to want to give you that support back, especially if it's a healthy relationship. Now, if you don't have that healthy dynamic, then that's like a deeper dive into like recognizing, okay, so when they need me, I'm always here, but when I need them, are they there for me? And if they're not, like, that's when, again, really thinking about the boundary factor. Boundaries always matter, but not trying to like put yourself so thin for people that could be potentially abusing your empathetic heart.
Whew, powerful, powerful words. And I love what you said about there are more people like you than you think. I remember because for years I used to be ashamed of being sensitive. I thought it made me weak. I was embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh, everyone could just know what I'm thinking and feeling so easily. And I didn't like that. And one of my really close friends, Erica, she's such a beautiful, strong woman, but she also has a sensitive heart. Shout out Erica. She's watching. And something she told me that it really made me feel better. She said that her father told her, like, it's beautiful to feel things. It is beautiful to have a big heart and to have all these emotions. Like, you're alive. Like, wow, it's special. And it like literally makes me tear up now because it really helped me kind of put down that shame, that unnecessary shame that I think society kind of will put on us. We're doing a better job, I think, with messaging now, about embracing how you feel. But when we were kids, it was not like that. Okay. It was like, oh, you weak.
Yes. It was tough.
It was.
It still is. But yeah, and I love that. I think it's such a powerful and beautiful thing to care and to love. And like, it's when you're most vulnerable, but it's also, I think, you know, like you said, I think it's something where, unfortunately, like there was like this shame put to being sensitive and, oh, like, get over it. Like, and I'm so glad now that the conversation has shifted to being more about embracing it and recognizing how you can help others and that your feelings are valid. Like, your feelings are valid to what you're going through, and it doesn't make you weak, or it doesn't make you less than because something affects you. And it doesn't mean that now, and again, going into being like just like multifaceted, because it's like you can still feel something and be very strong. And like, and just because you might not, and then the opposite goes too, like, just because it's harder for you to show something doesn't mean you're not affected, you know? So like, I think it's recognizing that as well, that like, we're all very sensitive beings, but it's like owning it of like where you are in that spectrum.
Yes, owning it, owning your feelings, owning who you are, and not being ashamed and being proud of that.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I love owning it. I love owning it.
I know. And I feel like there's this like a sense of empowerment when you know like what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, of like even like communicating how you treat others. And again, recognizing like you're never perfect. Like that's not the point. Not the point to be perfect. You're always supposed to be a work in progress, because once you're done, like, then what are you striving for?
Yeah. What are you doing then?
Yeah. Like, what's the point then? And so you should always be reevaluating yourself and relationships and how you can be better, where you can improve. You know, that never stops. Like, it doesn't stop once you get out of school. It doesn't stop, you know, everything matters of like, and that's also, I think, the push too, of like recognizing that like, maybe you didn't handle something great, but now you have the tools to be better. Like, when you know better, do better, you know, like that kind of a thing. So I just think that's very like helpful as well.
Absolutely. And I think with staying like connected to yourself and your real feelings and being honest with yourself, it helps you with the process of like self-evaluation and growing much faster. Because if you're not really paying attention to yourself, you're never like sitting down and giving yourself that self-reflection, you're not going to know what's going on. You're not, certain times I will feel a lot of things. I'm feeling upset or mad or sad or even, I don't know, I guess it's more, let me keep it real. That's probably more than negative ones where I'm like, wow, I'm really upset and I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm like, nothing really happened. And then I will journal, like you said, and I'll think about it. And I was like, oh, I think I finally figured out why I'm upset. If I never took the time to try to discover what was going on, I would just be a ball of all these stifled emotions. I don't want to be like that.
Yes.
And my mom, she would really help me with that. I'm so grateful for my mom too, for like a lot of different things, but like I remember she would like sit with me because I'd be upset or something. She'd be like, "What's wrong? Like, are you okay?" And I first, "I'm fine, I'm fine." You know, you try to put
Yeah.
that all up, "I'm fine, I don't want to talk about it." And she'd give me a little space, but she would come back and be like, "I think we should talk about it. Like, what's going on?" And
Yes.
she would just know how to pull it out. And like sometimes she would use jokes, or sometimes she would be like super like, you know how moms do.
Uh-huh.
Or sometimes she would like just be really like, "Just let me hug you." And then it would all come flooding out. You know, she just knows. And now the fact that I'm able to do that for myself in certain ways and like parent myself as like all adults, hopefully like we'll be able to do, you know, to like give ourselves that encouragement. It's really wonderful.
Yeah.
It takes work. I'm just like really trying to get better and better at it because I'm a work in progress and that's okay.
That was so beautiful. And it makes so much sense, like that your mom's such a beautiful soul because that's exactly how you are. And again, registering and knowing how to treat people and making them feel seen. And so, like, again, that's such a powerful gift to give to others, like recognizing their energy and sensing something's off and giving them that like acknowledgement, like, when you're ready, I'm here, is just so powerful. And just like sometimes that's all some people need is just knowing someone's in their corner. You know, like sometimes people aren't ready to voice up and say what's really on their mind. And like going back to, again, our moms are just amazing. This should be like the mom episode because
I know that I really should go on that. We're 11 moms.
out. Because same thing, just the way my mom would be able to, she let me know it was okay to feel what I was feeling. And so like exactly what you said, you kind of go through phases in life too, like where you want to put on like a front, like, no, I'm fine, I'm not affected. And my mom always let me know, like, it's okay to say how you're feeling. Like if you're nervous, it's okay to say you're nervous. If you're scared, it's okay to say you're scared. And sometimes when you say it out loud, it makes you feel more powerful because you're recognizing your emotions. And like when you can label what your emotions are, that's one step for like closer now to figuring out how to regulate, you know? So when you're all worked up and you can't really, am I nervous? Am I scared? Am I anxious? Am I like, you don't know which one it is. So you don't know what steps to take of like how to balance yourself out and how to take control over it. So my mom would always like, you know, even like in grade school, if I was nervous about a test or, you know, or a game or a practice or whatever it was. And she would just be like, you know, again, she would sit with me and just be like, it's okay to be nervous. That means you care, you know, it's okay to be afraid. That means that you're willing to take the risk, you know, like all those like, and then she would always like use her mom magic and you know
magic.
find the right way to like how to push forward. And you know, and she was never about like hiding what you're feeling. And so she'd always make me feel good of like, because same thing, I would think like, oh, is something wrong with me that I'm nervous? No one else seems nervous. Something wrong with me that I'm scared. No one else seems scared. And she's just like, well, they just might be afraid to say it. So maybe if you say it, they'll feel more comfortable now to come out and say how they're feeling. And that always stuck with me of like the honesty factor, because you do realize like, again, so many people are like you, but they're afraid to then be open about it.
And I've seen you do that. Becky. I've seen you use your voice and be honest about a moment, or you know, shed light on something that's important, or talk about accountability. And in my mind, I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Or wow, I love that she brought up that point. It's so important to use our voice because you don't know who it could positively affect. Wow, I see you doing that.
That means so much. That means so much to me.
Amazing. Okay, so I heard you mention sports a little bit. So of course, now that made me think about your fitness journey and how passionate you are. Check out her Instagram if you have not seen it. You have such wonderful content, and you make me get pumped up. Like, okay, I'm gonna do some exercise today, hopefully. So have you always been this fitness woman, like even when you were a little girl?
You're so good to me. Yeah, and that is something too that like I use now as my movement to help me regulate my emotions. So, but yeah, ever since I was little, my I always wanted to tag along with my brother's sports with my dad. And so that's what really like got me into it. And I always was playing sports and on teams and competing. And I always felt that that was like a really like healthy environment too, of just like, my parents always had the right mindset around it with competition and wanting to be your best self. Like, you know, you're not looking at someone else to ever bring them. You want to be the best teammate you can be, you know? So it's like, you shine when other people shine, you know, and like someone else having a good game doesn't take away from what you did that day, you know? And again, like you want to be surrounded by quality teammates. So I think that's always something that stuck in my head of like, wanting always to spread goodness and like happiness, because it's just like, it feels really good to know when you assist somebody into making their day, you know? And so that carried through for me with sports. And now as an adult, I just still love movement and working out. And again, that's a huge release for me when I'm feeling anxious or worked up or sad or happy. Even like when I'm moving, I feel very connected to like myself and the world around me and the people in my life. And so it makes me just take into account like all the blessings that I have, you know, all of the love that I have. It's just kind of like this euphoric thing, like as I'm moving my body and sweating, and like sweating is a very good way of like helping to regulate yourself, whether it's like a sauna or, you know, or a workout or anything like that. Like sweating really helps release those toxins and that heavy and weight. Massages help too. You know, I'm just thinking of like certain things like help, like certain self-care that can sometimes be looked at as like, oh, what a luxury. And it is a luxury to be able to do those things, but it's self-care, like maintenance of our homeostasis, you know? So, but for me, sorry, going on this long tangent, but movement's also very special for me because, you know, when I was younger, I was very sick. And so in second grade, it's something I don't talk about as freely because it's something that's very personal to me. And it was hard, you know, it was really a scary time, but recognizing how lucky you are to move. And so when I ever feel, you know, sad or something, I just think about the fact that like I come back to my breath and I think about like all the things that I have that are good, you know? And so like movement is one of them. And just what a blessing it is. And not in the sense of like, oh, you have to do this hardcore workout, but just like walking up and down your stairs. Like what a blessing that is that you get to do that, you know? Reaching for things as you're putting things away. What a blessing that is that you're getting to do that, you know? So recognizing its movement as a gift and not a punishment, that really helps me.
That is absolutely beautiful. This has been so wonderful speaking with you, Becky. Like I love talking to you in our personal life, and I'm so glad that you were able to come on the channel and just spread your wisdom, your grace, and I'm really glad that we spoke today.
That means so much to me. And like I said before to you privately, like you wanting me to be on your channel is just like the kindest gesture in the world. And like, I just think the world of you, and you just spread so much goodness and kindness, and your energy is so loving and pure. And I just really appreciate that deeply in you. And thank you for being my friend. And thank you for being a friend to, you know, everybody that you meet. I think that that's a very strong and powerful trait, that when you meet a stranger, like you're having their day for the good, you know? And I think that's just, you know, that's your superpower. You make people feel good and seen. And
thank you so
thank
much.
you for having me.
Oh my God, girl. I think this is the first time I've actually teared up on the channel, but I guess it wouldn't be an empathy episode without it. That was so wonderful, Becky. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kira.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about, or anything else you wanted to add?
No, I guess just like, you know, what you touched on of like the world being so heavy sometimes and feeling guilty for being happy or not knowing what else to do. Like sometimes you can feel helpless in that when like there's so much going on, and you know, recognizing your privilege and I think that's just the biggest thing is like keep listening and learning, but also make it tangible of where you can help, you know? So like when things are so big and you're like, I don't know how to make this better because it seems so global and huge. Recognize in your own community, in your own circle, how you can make that better, whether it's donating your money or your time, having hard conversations. Because again, the heaviness of it, you want to do something, but sometimes you don't know how, and that can make you feel powerless. So as an empathetic person, like you said, write down what is realistic, where you can help and make change, and recognize that it's not solely on you, but to just, again, to do what's right. It always matters to do what's right, even if it's harder.
Definitely. And just like you said, you can help in your own community or find realistic ways, and it makes a difference.
It does.
Difference to make a positive impact. And it matters.
It always matters.
Yes. Even if you can help one person, 2 people, 5, that's incredible. That's a lot more than if you did nothing. So I love that point you made about helping, and as an empathetic person, serving others, it makes you also feel good. And you know that you're helping someone out and making their life a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm so glad you added that in. Wonderful point. All right. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Leave any comments below if you want to contact Becky. I'm going to have her information for her Instagram there as well. Follow her. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.